Hello and welcome to the Crochet Cakes YouTube channel. In this week's video, we're going to be learning how to work the split extended single crochet stitch, which is a variation of the extended single crochet. If you find yourself in need of learning the extended single crochet stitch, there is a link to that tutorial in the description box below or in the iCard above. For this split extended single crochet tutorial, I am using a Furls Odyssey crochet hook and just some worsted weight acrylic. We're going to chain any number of chains that we desire. The split extended single crochet stitch does not need a multiple of either 2 or 3. No, it doesn't need any of that. Just whatever number of chains you want to make. Also, yes, I do want to confirm that the extended single crochet stitch is one of my favorite stitches, but don't let that influence you. So I'm going to chain enough to join in the round because we are going to be working this split extended single crochet stitch in the round. To my knowledge, it typically only works in the round, but you can tell me if you've experienced otherwise. This looks like a good number of chains to me. I'm going to join in the round just with a slip stitch. Get that yarn out of the way. Alright, so pull that through and we have joined in the round. Now, in order to do the split single crochet stitch, we first do need to work our single crochet row round. So that is what I'm doing here. Inserting my hook, yarning over, pulling one loop, pulling through one loop, and then pulling through 2 loops to complete the extended single crochet stitch. As I said, if you need a more detailed stitch for the extended single crochet, there is a link in the description box below or in the iCard that is appearing up here. So for this first round, we are simply working an extended single crochet stitch in every chain. I'm going to fast forward the video now and I will check back in when it is time to start round 2 and the round that will properly begin our split extended single crochet portion of the tutorial. Once we've completed our first round, I am going to be joining in the round with a slip stitch, and I confess that I do not typically join in the round with a slip stitch when I'm working the extended single crochet stitch, but makes it easier to count and keep track of our rounds, so we're doing it. But what I did want to say is that I fully recommend the Furls Odyssey crochet hooks for when you have to work split stitches. I know they are pricey, but this hook portion of the hook is just great to separate the legs of the single crochet stitches, and it makes it easier to insert our hook into the very center of the stitch to then pull up our yarn. So you're seeing the way that the hook is just very, very pointy. So as I said, we're going to be looking at our stitch, and if we look at our extended single crochet stitch, we see that the bottom part kind of looks like it's a base single crochet, and then at the top we have another single crochet. So we're going to be working the split extended single crochet into the top portion of this stitch. And I'm just going to grab something so I can share here. So you can see this is the bottom portion, and then right on top we have those 2 legs right underneath the V where we would typically work the stitch. And right at that top, that is where we're going to be inserting our hook to work into the very center of the stitch. So typically when we're going to be working an extended single crochet stitch, we would work it here under the top V, right? But now, as I said, we're going to be inserting right into that, between those 2 legs that form the single crochet stitch. Okay, so you can see these little legs here. We're inserting the hook right between there. And I know that I'm repeating myself, but I just really want you to grasp where I'm inserting the hook, because when I first started working the this central single crochet, I wasn't really sure where I was placing my hook. So I just want to be very clear with you guys on that. Okay, so let's begin the split extended single crochet portion of this tutorial. So it's kind of hard to see on the first stitch, but I'm grabbing the hook portion and I am spreading the top single crochet, inserting my hook, grabbing some yarn and pulling through, and then I'm just going to pull through that first loop to start the base of the extended single crochet, and then I'm going to complete my stitch. Okay, so once again we are using the throat portion of our hook to separate. You can also push the V up to see the top portion of the stitch more clearly, but we are going to separate the legs like so, and then insert our hook, grab some yarn, pull it through, then yarn over, pull through one loop, yarn over, pull through two loops. So again, we are using the hook portion to split the legs of the stitch, inserting our hook, and completing our stitch. So you can see it's a pretty easy stitch. It uses the same techniques that you would use to work your normal central single crochet, but just in this case we are using the extended single crochet stitch. And my recommendation here is that when you do that top stitch, you leave it loose. Again, I'm inserting my hook, and now I'm yarning over, pulling through one, and then when I yarn over, pull through two, I'm going to make sure that I leave that pull through two quite loose so that on the return round I can more easily get my hook between the stitch or in the center of the stitch. So again, using the hook portion to spread the stitch, yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two, making sure that when we pull through two, we leave that quite loose. So again, split your stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through one. And on this pull through one, when you pull up that loop, that's the loop that you want to be loose. So here, we're pulling through one. There, that should be loose. You shouldn't tighten that, and that ensures that the top portion of the stitch is looser. So the steps are pretty much the same. I'm just going to keep working along this round, and then I will meet you back here so that we can work an extra round together. And I also think I'm going to be switching some yarns so you can see the stitch easier and you can see the steps that I'm working maybe a little bit easier as well. So just to review, the tip to working with central stitches for me is to use a Furls crochet hook. I know they are pricey, but in my opinion they are well worth it for my tendonitis. And the other tip that I have for you is that when you yarn over, pull through one, you make that yarn over, pull through one quite loose, and then you yarn over and complete your stitch. So I'm going to slow it down here. So we've inserted our hook, and in that yarn over, pull through one, this is what must be loose right before we do that yarn over, pull through two. So again, slower this time, we are using the hook portion of our hook to separate the legs of the stitch, and we're inserting our hook, we are yarning over, pulling up a loop, then we're going to yarn over, pull through that first loop, and this loop that we're pulling up should be loose because that is what's going to ensure that when we yarn over, pull through two, our top portion of the extended single crochet stitch is loose. So there's two places you can join in the round. You can join to the space where you normally would, and then start inserting your hook and working your extended split extended single crochet. But I think that creates a little bit of a tight fabric. It's also very noticeable. So you could pull that back, push that through, push the stitch apart, insert your hook and just join with a slip stitch there, and start your split extended single crochets. So for this split extended single crochet, just like the waistcoat stitch, also known as the central single crochet, we are just going to be repeating the same round of inserting the hook into the center of the stitch, yarning over, pulling up that loop, yarning over, pulling through one loop, yarning over, pulling through two to complete our stitch. That's what we're going to be doing for every single round. So this is another yarn sample of the split extended single crochet, and you can see how straight it stands up. You can see the stitch in better detail. I'm going to show you here as well, just in case. Also, for your reference, this is a sample with the normal extended single crochet stitch, and this is the example we just worked on with the split or central extended single crochet stitch. So if we turn the fabric we've just made with the split extended single crochet stitch inside out, this is what it looks like on the inside. And if we turn the extended single crochet fabric inside out, this is what it looks like. You can tell that the split extended single crochet fabric, it's more like intertwined on the reverse. So the other thing I wanted to show you about the split extended single crochet stitch is that there's technically two ways of doing it, or as actually incorrect. There are technically two places you can place your hook. So what we've been doing is just spreading the stitch legs apart and inserting the hook, and you can kind of see that the hook comes out like to the right of that leg. But if we look at the top of the extended single crochet stitch, we can see that there's like a little leg behind the leg. So here, I'm showing it from the reverse side, and I'm going to be just grabbing this piece of, and if we poke it right through the center, this is what it looks like in the back. So we are literally in the center of the stitch. You can see that we have really put our hook, or in this case, just the screwdriver right into the center of the hook. And that's a little finicky to do. But if you do manage to do it, make sure that you're working all the stitches the same way, because if not, it's kind of noticeable. So here you can see that I really wedged my hook right into the center. You can see, and I'm completing my stitch, and I'm going to show you guys the difference by doing that very central split stitch and showing you what the comparison of what we have been doing versus if you go in right into that center. Okay, so you can see here a couple of stitches just separating the stitch but not really going into the center. And you can see that the stitch looks more like it's coming out of the right leg instead of the actual center point of the stitch. So once again, we are using the hook portion to separate the stitch and really manage to go in through the center of the stitch. So again, So this stitch, you can tell that it's kind of like coming out of the right leg versus the stitch on the left that we've just completed that you can tell it really stacks up. We've really managed to work it in the center. Does this really matter? I think it matters if you are switching from the center to kind of like the right leg of the stitch because it'll be noticeable depending on the yarn you're using. And I think that for color work, managing to really wedge it in the center of the stitch produces a cleaner design. But if you just manage to do like we've been doing, which is basically hooking it to the right leg, it also works. Just make sure that you're always hooking it to the right leg. Okay, so this brings us to the end of today's split extended single crochet stitch tutorial. If you're wondering how I'm using this stitch, then I'm using it to crochet up a sweater for my husband that I'll be sharing on the split screen right now, so you can see that that yarn is a lot darker, and that in the case of the stitches, whether I'm hooking it right smack dab in the center or to the right leg like we have been doing, it doesn't really make a difference because the yarn is very dark. And with that, thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial on the split extended single crochet. I will see you pretty soon with a video all about my husband's raglan sweater. Happy crafting, guys!